My name is Martin Unrau. I run a cow-calf outfit along with a backgrounding outfit, and we also do some grain farming. My farm is located approximately 9 miles south of MacGregor, up in the hills, as we call it, up on the escarpment. We also own some land down on the flat part of off of the escarpment, approximately 2 miles from the edge of the escarpment. Our operation, as I have mentioned, is mostly a cow-calf outfit, although we feed some cattle. In the last 3 or 4 years we have gone into growing some cash crops as a way of offsetting the BSE issues that we've had on our cattle operation. My wife and my son and myself run our outfit. I am also in a position with the Canadian Cattlemen's Association, sitting currently as Vice President of the Canadian Cattlemen's Association. So my wife and my son do a lot of the day-to-day work when I'm gone with that in that position. Also, I guess I would like to talk a little bit today about the shelter belts and the use of shelter belts on our farm. Trees as a whole are very important to this area. Our farm is located in a very sandy area and hilly. We also have hills. Not extremely hilly, but we have hills where we also run into some problems with water erosion. Our greatest concern in the way of maintaining or managing our farm is the fact that erosion has played a major part in farming in this hill area for as long as I can remember, and trees are extremely important to being able to keep the wind erosion down to a minimum. When it comes to grain farming or row crop farming, we grow some corn for feed. Also, we feed our cows out on the fields, and so the fact that we have shelter from trees for feeding areas is extremely important to us in this area. We believe that we have to feed our cattle on the land rather than feed them in one area and haul the manure out. Most of our cattle stay or are being fed on fields for the majority of the winter. We try to do grazing on hay and swath grazing, and also some corn grazing to try to run us up into the beginning of December before we start feeding mechanically. After we do start feeding mechanically, we feed on the same fields where we have grazed in order to maintain the nutrient levels for the years following. The tree lines, of course, are when we feed. I have to back up. When we feed when we decide where we're going to winter feed, we look at where the trees are and where the tree lines are, and we always try to maintain the ability of being able to feed on each side to compensate for wind from any direction. So in other words, when we feed on a field, we try to ensure that if there's an east wind, we feed on the west side of the trees, north wind, feed on the south side of the trees, and so on. It's easy to find feeding areas where you have tree rows on one or two sides, but it's important to maintain trees around every field in our situation to be able to maintain that ability to have that shelter from wind. It's very important when you look at the amount of feed cattle need when you get down to say 20 below or 30 below and you have a bit of wind, and my rule of thumb is very simply that for every 10 degrees that the temperature drops, you need 10% more feed. So when we think about that and we want to approach that in a positive way, we have to keep cattle out of the wind, not only for their own benefits and their own health, but also economically in the way of being able to feed less feed to maintain the condition of the cattle. I maintain that on our outfit that we need to keep the weights, the fall weights, all the way through until calving time. Of course, there's different thinking on this. Some people believe we can lose a few pounds during the winter, and I think we can afford to lose a few pounds, but I try to maintain our weights on our cows and keep the weights consistent all the way through till calving time. We do lose some pounds after calving because we don't increase the amount of feed that is fed per pair as such. We try to maintain the amount of feed fed per animal rather than per pair. So we do lose a few pounds after calving, but that is very quickly gained back in the middle of May or end of May when cattle are put out on grass. Economically, I believe we have to do that to maintain our low input costs. I guess We have, as I've mentioned, we have some grain. The ability for us to seed smaller fields has been easier in the past, although we're moving to some larger equipment, so it's becoming a bit of a problem with the shelter belts in the smaller fields. Our largest fields are probably right here where we live, are about 50 to 60 acres. It'd be nice to be able to run right straight through and seed, you know, 3/4 mile fields or 1 mile fields in some instances. But we've looked at this and decided that the shelter belts are more important to us than being able to seed larger fields, even though there is a cost to seeding small fields. And moving, of course, with larger machinery, there's a cost to that. But we feel that that is very well compensated by the fact that we can maintain the shelter belts and maintain shelter and keep erosion down to a minimum or down to zero. And I guess when I talk about erosion, our goal is to have zero erosion. Over the years, we've been able to get down to that level with the shelter belts we've put up. We often see in the spring, when we get dry years, we see some movement, but it has been minimized by the shelter belts for us. I guess we'll just hang on for this. I'd like to add that trees and wetlands and grass are natural filtering systems for pollutants, for nutrients also. Nutrients, of course, are extremely important for growth of crops. We try to manage our nutrients as cattlemen very carefully. With the price of fertilizer, we've noticed that if we manage our nutrients carefully, we can decrease the amount of fertilizer that we need to buy, which of course is a huge positive on the economic management of our operation. We along with the tree lines that we maintain, and some of them are natural tree rows that we've maintained, and also some that we've planted. We maintain wetlands, what we call water runs. We allow trees to grow beside the wetlands to allow some shelter for cattle when they get up closer to the wetlands in the windy days that we have during the winter sometimes. We try to fence off some of these wetlands to ensure that they're maintained at a level that we think is satisfactory for a filtering system. And also we're very aware of the fact that with cattle there seems to be the importance of the filtering systems that go along with raising cattle, and in order to maintain that confidence within ourselves and also with others that see cattle roaming around on the countryside. I think it's very important that grasslands are not only developed but also maintained. The maintenance of grasslands and tree rows is extremely important. We can rebuild them, but that takes a long time. And I think in order to look after some of the difficulties with erosion today, we need to maintain what we have and then add to that in the future. And what I mean by that is very simply that if we take down a tree row, we should replant it somewhere else. And that's kind of what our thinking is, and our situation is with tree rows and wetlands. I guess I'd just like to say, if anybody would like to come and take a look at what we've done, you're very welcome to do that. It's not a very sophisticated program. It's a very common sense program where we've just maintained the tree rows where they were in the past, and of course we have oak and poplar and some ash, and then also we've put in those extra rows where we felt we needed them. So thank you, and if you would like to come and see our operation, please phone ahead and we'd be happy to show you.